Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Great Debaters Contest.
The show that not only educates but also entertains. I am your host, Esperancia Kapanga.
And I am Chris Boru. Debating on a very crippling matter, we have Thika girls Karibaribi opposing the motion that states poverty is the most important security issue facing Africa.
In the proposition, we have Gikindu Girls High School. Proposer number 1, you have 3 minutes.
My name is Wendy Maina from Gikindu Girls High School, here to strongly propose on the motion that says that poverty is the most important security issue facing Africa. I'm so happy and I'm so delighted on having this motion, on really proposing it. Because why? Because I have a dream. I have a dream of one day becoming a president. And when I become a president, one thing that I will ensure is that I will kick out poverty, not only in Kenya, but also in Africa in large. So poverty is a major problem in third world countries in general, and in particular Africa, to which Kenya belongs. So here there are two main key points. There is poverty and there is security. So what is the meaning of poverty? Poverty means the state of being poor, and that is according to the Oxford Dictionary. Poverty is also viewed as a lack of basic needs and services or lack of minimum standard of living. That is literature view. And also material deprivation, low levels of education and health, exposure to vulnerability and risk and voicelessness and powerlessness. That is according to my own research. And security is the activities involved in protecting our country, building our person against attack or danger. That is according to the Oxford Dictionary. So, my first point is bad leadership and poor governance. So, how does bad leadership bring about poverty? We have scandals, we have exploitation of the poor, we have bad debts, we have low economy, scandals. I'll start off with what has been going on in our country. We've been hearing that, I don't know, the cabinet secretary of a certain department has taken money, has done all that stuff. I won't get into details. So why do they do that? Why do they? If they were rich, if indeed Africa was if it was a rich continent, then will our leaders be exploiting us? Will they be exploiting us? Sorry. We also have strikes, which go in hand with exploitation of the poor. We've been having teachers strike. We've been having doctors strike. So why are they striking? And as much as they're striking, we should not forget that as much as they go on a strike and the government decides to increase their salaries, remember that the taxes are still high. So what will happen to the common mwananchi? We need to agree that poverty indeed has caused a lot of security issues in our country, because out of these strikes, there is hatred, there is death. We also have bad debts. Remember that just the previous years, the SGR was constructed. So where did the government get all that money? About 6 trillion to construct the SGR. Wasn't that from us? Wasn't that a bad debt from China? Sorry. And out of all this, you find that the common mwananchi, they will always fight. They will always fight against the government. And that will always lead to death. And that is why we need to strongly believe that poverty is indeed a major issue affecting security. Thank you.
First proposer, you have 3 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ivy Wamboi, Thika Girls Karibaribi, opposing the motion that says poverty is the most important issue causing insecurity in Africa. What is poverty? Scarcity or lack of certain amount of material possession. What is insecurity? Insecurity is the state being open to danger. Do you mean that poverty is the only one? Oh gosh. Is it the only one that brings us to that danger? I'll start with my first point. Global warming. This is the slow and steady rise of the high temperatures in the Earth's surface. And according to BBC, 0.7 today, the temperatures have increased. And by this, farming has been affected. Farming has been affected. According also to BBC, that in 2050, the yield for maize it's lowering to 30% in Zimbabwe. Water shortages. In terms of this, one professor named Pauline in the University of South Africa once said, "Water is life. And Africa without water is a dead continent." Lack of water brings about the low population growth and also the issue of farming. More issues are growing, more issues are going apart from poverty. Education. In our continent, we're in the era of VUCA, meaning volatility, instability, complexity, and accountability. Due to the lack of basic skills, we bring about unemployment and underemployment. We lack skilled labor, and we also have the unskilled personnel. You want to tell me all this is about poverty? It's also very harmful to think that poverty is the only thing. We should come out with more ideas, and I'm here to oppose this motion. With more ideas, with an aim liable for the future. I rest my case.
Second proposer, you have 3 minutes for cross-examination.
Caroline Nganga is my name from Gikindu Girls Secondary School, and I'm here to strongly propose the motion that poverty is the most important security issue facing Africa. You have talked about globalization and lack of water in different communities, and I want to ask you one. In Turkana and Samburu, why can't they access water? Why don't they find the water to even water the farms and irrigate them? Due to economic and due to gender insecurity is one of the points that is causing poverty. In some communities in Africa, the poverty expresses to people in traditional beliefs and customs, and this causes them to do the things that they are not supposed even to do, and yet they ruin the future of others. The health insecurity. Poverty-stricken communities are characterized with lack of health facilities, poor hygiene and sanitation that exposes their people to diseases. The illiteracy among the people makes them not to attend the available health facilities when they are sick. If we teach them on how to access these health facilities, if we make them knowledgeable on the facilities that they can be able to get, can we have all this that is going on around? What we are facing, for example, let me use Kenya because that is where I'm in right now. For example, in Kenya, the rate of health insecurity is very high due to people not being knowledgeable of the facilities they're supposed to access. The health facilities, and they are not hygienic. Their sanitation is very poor, and they expose their people to diseases. On to my second point is that the political insecurity. During the campaigns, the poor people are bribed by the rich to vote for them. And when they vote for them, it turns out that the elected leaders has self-interest, therefore not contributing to the development of the places where elected. Thus, when the voters have critical issues and problems of insecurity, they want to help from their leaders, and they are nowhere to be found. What is this world turning into when the government itself is corrupt? What is this government turning us into when yet they are the ones bringing poverty to us, to our country? Right now we could be far if the money that we borrow from other countries abroad, we could use them to start even factories that could be able to rise up sugar, for example, the Mumia's company. Right now we could be somewhere in our country. Thank you.
Second opposer, you have 3 minutes for cross-examination.
Oh, I see. I'm in the right place. I want to make a statement. See this emoji cap? This is happiness. So this is what I'm going to try and promote as I stand on this stage. Shamim Ali, here to strongly oppose that poverty is the main issue facing Africa in relation to insecurity. As you can see here, on stage, I brought papers. This one full paper, and these are cut down papers. What I'm aiming for, as I try and make you see this according to my angle, according to my point of view, is that what I need is Africa to be like this, in relative terms. Not Africa to be crumbling like this. Sorry for messing up your stage. We all recognize this. This is the Ducid D2. I stand to be corrected if I pronounce it wrong. Hotel. And we all know this is owned by very, very, very rich people. These are the terrorists who were supposedly, not blaming them, attacking the hotel. So when you stand here and say that poverty is the main issue facing Africa in relation to insecurity, why are you not thinking about terrorism? Why? Because according to logic, not any research institute, logic clearly states that when you're hungry, you can never go to terrorizing people. So I think the first thing that you should actually think about when you go about saying that poverty is what is making us turn into insecurity is that terrorism comes above all. Give it priority. Give it something to think about before going rambling about the poverty. The Rwandan genocide attack. As I read, the genocide was planned by members of the core political elite known as the Akazu. No mention of poverty, no mention of food shortage, notice. Many of whom occupied positions at the top levels of the national government, not the top levels of food organizations, which is poverty. So, the Rwandan genocide attack was caused by people who were after the injustice that they were caused against them. The Hutus and the Tutsis, they were not fighting over food, my dear friends and my dear opponents. They were not fighting over food or anything like that. It was the injustice that was being made against them by the Tutsis. The Hutus wanted to have a stand and stop being peasants and stop being subsided by the Tutsis. So I don't get where poverty is. And sorry if I say this, but the great debaters, we should give something great, something strong, something to stand on. I rest my case.
The proposers have been asked if bad leadership is the cause of poverty, then does that not mean that bad leadership is actually the most important issue facing security in Africa? The opposers, on the other hand, have been asked, what exactly is the relationship between food and security, or lack thereof? Proposer number 3, you have 3 minutes to respond.
In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Lord, I do thank you for this audience who thinks that poverty is not the most important security issue in Africa, for I am going to transform their minds. Amen. On to the question that I was asked, if political issues is the major problem that faces poverty. Well, when political leaders are searching for votes, where do they mostly reach their hands to? The poor people, definitely. And when they sit on those seats, what do they do if not vandalizers, causing poverty to Africans who are crying out for them to help them? Poverty. Poverty simply means, poverty doesn't really coincide on lack of food, poverty is socially, poverty is economically, poverty is politically. We have poverty in knowledge, we have poverty in all our social issues. Well, majorly, Africa, our world is halfway created by the youth. Most of the youths lie in unemployment issues. Africans, my contestants talked about terrorism. Well, how logic is it that a rich person will end up terrorizing another fellow rich person? How logic is that? A poor person with high expectations, a poor person with high yields of life, and yet what they end up in the evening is disappointments. Where do they result their revolutions to? Terrorizing people so that they can get what they wanted to get at the end of the day. That's majorly, poverty causes terrorism. My contestants were basing their arguments on food shortage. Why are we only seeing our stomachs? Why are we only seeing what we have to partake in the morning and in the evening? Why can't we rely our points on health issues? Why can't we rely our points on environmental issues? Why can't we rely our points on political issues? Environmentally, poor people. We see the poor people in Turkana, the poor people in the sub-Saharan areas in Africa, the poor people in South Africa and worldwide. Majorly, they are faced by environmental issues, like, for example, droughts. What really leads to droughts? Like, we see majorly these days our politicians are the ones who are vandalizing our economy, our resources. Like, we see, I'm not going to mention names, but mostly of them, they carry out deforestation so that they can own those lands and benefit themselves instead of benefiting the common mwananchi. Why should we really rely on food? Why should we really blame why should we really blame the fact that we want to build Africa and we are not ready to take an initiative we are not ready to take the next initiative? Thank you.
Third opposer, you have 3 minutes to respond to your question.
I am Salome Mboro from Thika Girls Karibaribi Secondary School, here to oppose the motion that says that poverty is the most important issue facing the security of Africa. First of all, I would like to answer a question that has been asked by one of our audience over there, that the relationship between poverty and food, not poverty, but insecurity and food. Insecurity, as it has been stated by my fellow colleague, that insecurity is a state of being open to danger or a threat. Food, what is food? Food is anything that you take inside your mouth. You take and you digest it in order to give you health, energy, or anything else. The relationship between insecurity and food is that when global warming attacks our African continent, farming is going to be a major issue that is going to be attacked by global warming. Hence, food is going to be inadequate. Food being inadequate, it will lead to food insecurity in our country. Second of all, I would like to state that rivals between ethnic groups in African continent is also a major important issue affecting security in our continent. 2007 in Kenya is a history that will always remain in everyone's heart and minds. According to investigation and research, at the end of January 2008, more than 1,000 people were killed, and more than 300,000 people were displaced. This has caused insecurity in the physical self. Okay, if your country is not enough to look upon, look at Sierra Leone in Western Africa. Violence erupted. This is due to supporters of some political organization between the African People's Party and the opposition. This was a threat to the African people living in Sierra Leone. Dictatorial regime. A country whose government and system is dictatorial or totally deprives its population of their rights and presents freedom of expression. This condition causes frustration and discontent and revolt. Most dictators in Africa
The regime is characterized by corruption also. And as you know, corruption is an issue that has been facing Kenya's security and also Africa in the making. So as we stand here, poverty is not the most important issue that is affecting Africa, but rather there are more important issues such as corruption, dictatorial regime, ethnic groups who turn rivalries against themselves. So, to complete my justification, I'd like to say that as you go to your places or as you go back to your schools, know that Kenya, according to the International Monetary Fund, has been stated a country that has been it is becoming rich. Africa is becoming rich, and by far we shall reach a place where we shall call ourselves development. So stop blaming poverty. Poverty is not anything associated with insecurity in Kenya, in Africa. Thank you.
Proposers, you have 1 minute to make a final submission.
I don't know why we're still arguing. We will never improve ourselves. We will never improve our country. We will never improve Africa at large if we don't accept the fact terrorism, all those things, they're all caused because of poverty. So I don't know why we are still arguing about all this. We all supposed to come together and agree that indeed that poverty, it is the main key to all security issues that is facing Africa in large. Thank you.
Opposers, you have 1 minute to make a final submission.
On prayers, if the Allah transforms minds, can't He rotate them? So, we are still arguing. Actually, we are not arguing because, we are all 17 and above. We don't argue, we debate because these are important matters. What I'm mainly saying is that when I stand here and say that terrorism is the main issue causing insecurity, what I mean is that the rich vandalize themselves to make political statements. Terrorists vandalize countries to make political statements. Join me. And the only place that I'm going to be dragged on while you're talking about dragging and going to the right side is if you are going to oppose the motion that states poverty is the main issue causing insecurity in Africa.
Gikindu, Wendy, you are a confident speaker. I like the fact that you say that poverty is not only about food. You mentioned other types of poverty. The other person, Caroline, there was a loss of connection between what you are saying and what the motion was. But at the end, you told us something to do with bad leadership and linked it to poverty. Tabitha, you spoke about, you tried to rebuttal the question that you had been asked by the audience and also gave us types of poverty and why you are proposing the motion.
Thika girls, Ivy, I liked how you were passionate. You also have very good facial expressions, though you didn't really fully utilize your 3 minutes. Maybe you should work on that next time. Shamim, really passionate. You also brought some interesting illustrations on stage, so you made us connect with what you were discussing and what you were presenting. Salome, also a very passionate speaker. Give us what you thought is the most important security issue, that is corruption. And I think it's good that both of you tried as much as you could have to maybe give us your point of view. Thank you. All the best to both teams.
And now the moment we wait for in each debate. Gikindu Girls High School, the judges awarded you 65%. Let's give them a round of applause. Thika Girls High School, very close with 2% difference. 67%, making Thika Girls the winners of this debate.
Congratulations to both teams for a job well done. Remember, the debate does not end here because the conversation continues across our social media platforms with the hashtag GDC for SDGs. We'd also like to appreciate all our stakeholders who've been able to make this show a reality, from the principals to the patrons, the students from each and every school. I am your host, Chris Boru.
And I am Esperancia Kapanga. See you in the next debate.